You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Talented candidates to find it, or for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning. Welcome into Monday edition of Inside the Locker Room. Chase, let's hit the applause button. You got the applause button there. Let's get that applause before we even get started. Yes. The blue plate has been hit. It has been hit. We moved it to Thursday, and he had some success, so congratulations. The blue plate has been hit. I don't know that we'll miss another, or you will miss another game the rest of the season. So Tennessee covered. It was the pick of everybody across the country. Who cares? You find you one you like, and Tennessee dominated the game. But they kept it close. They kept you having to keep watching to make sure that blue plate was going to come through. But congratulations on that, getting that done. And hopefully you'll pick another one this Thursday. So keep it locked in here all week long. 205-342-9904 is the phone number if you'd like to get in on the show with us this morning. The X account's at Locker Room 109, at Barry Sanderson, at Wimp Sanderson 1. Email address for the show is wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. Download that app. You can chat with us on the app. Tide 100.9 app to your smartphone, and you can take us anywhere we go. We want to thank Yellowwood Pressure Treated Pine from Great Southern. They make all this possible. So go to yellowwood.com to find the dealer closer to you. You want to build the fence, the deck, the pergola, the 5-star backyard. There's only one choice, and that would be Yellowwood. With that being the case, Northridge got the victory Friday night at 2, and also they knocked off Central Falcons 17-10. We got Chase behind the glass here. Good morning, Chase. Good morning, Dad. How are you guys doing this morning?
Doing okay. Chiefs won last night. I can't stand to watch the Falcons play. I never do watch them. I didn't. 22-17. The Chiefs always win. Did a great job of coaching them. Quarterback's terrific. Braves won 5-4. My Cleveland team got beat, but they're in the playoffs. You would think some way. I would have thought, and I said this publicly, that maybe your football schedules each week would be a little bit better than they are. We had 6 non-conference games last week. One was decent, I guess you'd say. LSU at UCLA. The rest of them are runaways. We go this week to the 5th week of the year, and we have 10 of the 16 teams playing. A decent schedule. Certainly Alabama and Georgia headliners, and trying to figure out what Oklahoma's going to do, I guess, is interesting. But we have 10 of the 16 teams playing, so we don't really each week have the kind of schedules that people, I think, thought we would. Right or wrong, I'm not sure, but that's the way I feel. So Tennessee's moved up. I couldn't figure out why they were playing the way they did. They had a reason for doing so, but it was played a little bit different, I thought. Took advantage of the running game a little bit more than I thought they would. And the quarterback was just, I thought, average, maybe a little bit better than average. But anyway, that's where it falls now, and we'll be happy to take your calls. We've got the same 2 on that we have on there, good, Max Howell and Doug. And tomorrow, I talked with Tim Brando, and tomorrow Tim is going to be on after Kevin Skarbinski at the 8:15 hour. He overslept because he did the
Nebraska, Illinois
game, and he'd overslept, so he apologized. That's okay. I tell you, I think Tim Brando. I'm sure you dislike him, but I don't think he does a bad job calling the games. He doesn't overdo it, and go crazy about it. I think he does a good job, and and I like people that other people don't like. And I think Tom Brady does an excellent job of explaining. For a guy who's been on there for the first time, it's not easy for explaining what they do in pro football if you like pro football. So some people, everybody has an opinion. That's the way it goes. But I think Tim's not bad, and I think Tom Brady's done a good job. Outside of that, we welcome your calls and talk to you about anything you want to talk about.
All right, obviously a huge week here in Tuscaloosa. Alabama takes on Georgia. There'll be a ton of talk about Kirby and going up against Nick Saban. Now it's Kirby against Kalen DeBoer in Alabama. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think. Has he been back more than one time since he left Alabama to come back here and coach here in Bryant-Denny Stadium? I can't remember, to be honest. I should have looked that up before. But, I'm sure there's mixed emotions with him. He spent a lot of time here at Alabama. It's really where his career took off. Game day will be here. The president's coming in. The weather's supposed to be bad, from what I understand, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but be out of here for the game Saturday. But this is a game that Kalen DeBoer will kind of be judged on, I guess, rightly or wrongly, based on Nick Saban's success. How big of a game is this for Alabama? Who's it bigger for? I think it's probably bigger for Georgia since Alabama's won so many. They got to get over that mental hurdle that they can knock off the Alabama Crimson Tide. Is it bigger for one team than the other?
Oh, I don't think so. I think Georgia comes in, people say playing not quite as well as they have, and they got the injury at the in the offensive line that hurts them some. It's a great Georgia team, not a great Georgia team, but a very good Georgia team, as you indicated the other day. They hadn't had a touchdown scored on them, so it'll be interesting to see. I think it'll be a game up for grabs, and anybody can win. And I think Georgia's some spots is a 2.5-point favorite, some spots are 2. According to what you get, if you think you want to bet on the game, so it should be interesting there. I think the other game in our state, we have a lot of Auburn listeners, is that Auburn is really, and I'm not making an excuse for what he has said. I didn't think the press conference went much better, but they're going in the end zone for a touchdown, and they fumble. The running back does, which was, I thought, the most costly deal in the entire game. They put Auburn in pretty good shape. If they score that touchdown, they fumbled it, and they threw interceptions. And with the schedule they have, going to Georgia, Missouri, Kentucky, bam, 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 and then ended up at Alabama, it's going to be a rough year.
Yeah, we talked about that almost being a must game. They drop it now. Obviously, everybody's seen Bo Wallace, the former quarterback at Ole Miss, talks about his time with Hugh Freeze and says, he took shots in order to play the games, and then when he's gotten through playing, Hugh Freeze does nothing for him whatsoever. Now, I don't know the relationship there, what happened there. He has been very vocal on social media about Hugh Freeze, calling out his quarterbacks, never taking responsibility, which is something I beat to death last week. I beat it to death last week, and it seems to have blown up to be a big story over the weekend. So if you'll just listen to us, we'll tell you what's coming because it was happening there. Do you think Hugh Freeze does? I mean, he's getting blasted for how he handles the media, how he rolls his players under the bus. I mean, surely he's aware of that people are like, this is not right. You can't do this. Surely he's not. I mean, he's doing it every week now. Does this guy have no self-awareness about what's being said? And people aren't. He's basically saying, Bo Wallace said, I don't know that any quarterback wants to play for Hugh Freeze anymore, the way he treats them. Do you think he's aware of what's out there at this point?
Oh, I think to some degree he is. I think he, if you he didn't say exactly, if your quarterback does fumble going into the end zone, it's very costly. you probably just need to say we made some costly mistakes with the interceptions and the fumbles that really hurt us a great deal, and leave it at that. He tries to personalize it a little bit more, and get in trouble for it. And it's going to be instead of a 7 or 8 game year wins, it's going to be in the neighborhood of hoping you can win 6. What's happened here, and people want to go back to the game itself. What's happened here is that staff, regardless of the way you think they recruited or didn't recruit, didn't get out and recruit the right quarterback. Now, when the offensive coordinator who got fired at Arkansas makes a special trip to see the Green kid at Boise State and talks to him and tries to get him, because I've had a guy we have on our show tell me day before yesterday that he is the best play caller in the world in the SEC. He said not even close.
Hugh Freeze?
No, the guy in Arkansas.
Oh, Bobby.
So he goes and gets him a quarterback that he feels like can play. Auburn does not do that. They try to sell you on the idea that 2 quarterbacks we've got are good enough, and they're not. Mm-hmm. And so the difference is the transfer portal and finding a quarterback can play as Miami did, and going after him and paying that guy because it's a quarterback league is the reason that Auburn's in the shape they're in.
Yeah, we talked about that all summer. That and I don't know that somebody indicated that Peyton Thorne was promised something during the recruiting process with the NIL, and that's why he came back as a starter. I don't know that to be true, but it's pretty obvious. And I'm not blaming Peyton Thorne; his talent is what it is. But these guys throwing picks, this, that, and the other. You want to blame the quarterback? No, you need to look in the mirror and say, we didn't recruit well enough. We should have gone and gotten another one. That's on you. So don't put it on those guys. Can they play better? Absolutely. But I don't know. I think we'll see if they can hold on to all these recruits now with the negativity. And in big game this weekend against Oklahoma, then it's Georgia, and you go on and on and on. That where they can lose 5 in a row. So not good times right now down on the plains. 2 Men in a Truck. They're out at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go pick up your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need in preparation for this move. Whether it's out of town, out of state, or local, no problem. They'll take great care of you. If you just need stuff moved around the house, don't stress out about it. Let these guys come in, and they'll be very professional. They'll take care of you and your stuff. Give them a call today, 205-247-5050. That is 2 Men in a Truck, movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. It was a violent weekend in Alabama. A homicide Saturday night in the 2900 block of 17th Street is being investigated as Tuscaloosa's 17th homicide of the year. It marks the city's all-time high for murders in a single year. It came on a weekend with 8 fatal shootings across the state, the worst being a mass shooting that killed 4, wounded 17 in Birmingham Saturday night. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Looking good in the area. We're not dealing with any severe traffic delays. We got Lurleen Wallace and McFarland Boulevard, that intersection. Only brief stoplight delays or intersection slow-goes. Otherwise, you got the road construction zones. 2059 eastbound between Western Bypass, Joe Malachap.
Live from Walk On Sports Bistro for Hillcrest Huddle. That's Brent Jones each week as the Hillcrest Patriots march towards the playoffs.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
Experience the wow factor. Contact Shoot Masonry and Specialties at 205-887-3807 today and unleash your home's full potential.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today with a hot afternoon, the high 93. For tonight, the sky fair with the low at 72. For tomorrow, partially sunny. We'll mention a small chance of a shower by afternoon, the high tomorrow 91. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Catch every game and every moment right here. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Pressure treated pine from Great Southern Wood. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, a lot of talk now about who's going to be the guest picker this weekend here in Tuscaloosa. And I've got the list of Alabama never seems to get this right. And I don't know who people call in and give us I put that up on our at Locker Room 109. Who do you want to be the guest picker? Back in 2014, it was Joe Namath. 2011, Brian Wilson. Jerry Jones in September 1, 2012. Jake Peavy. I'm going to just name the ones they've had here. Marcus Luttrell, Eric Church, Rick Ross. I mean, none of these have anything to do with Alabama. Vern Lundquist, Sam Hunt, Brian Bosworth. In 2019, Justin Thomas. They had Derrick Henry once, Nate Bagatse, and Theo Vaughn, I guess, last year. Are we kidding me? Like that? Who should be the guest pick? Who will be the guest picker this weekend for Alabama?
I be honest with you, I hadn't even thought about it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, is there anybody that's an obvious choice to come in? Obviously, a lot of these guys that are played in the NFL can't come and be a guest picker.
Reese has the most to do with it every week, I think, and I'm sure he'll have somebody that he likes. So I have no idea.
Well, it's kind of weird that you're here and there's not really just somebody where you'd say, oh, yeah, that's who it should be. All right, we have just a 40-second clip from Hugh Freeze after the game. I want to play that, and then, Dad, just get your thoughts about when you kind of rolled your quarterbacks under the bus to the media, and neither one of them played well, man, what do you do this week? And at some point, I guess you got to play for the future and play the young kid once this thing gets too far out of hand. But here was Hugh Freeze after the game on Saturday. A lot of things he says are true, but I'm not sure you say it in the media.
Unfortunately, this is what I know, and I know that there's people open, and I know that we're running the football. And we got to find a guy that won't throw it to the other team. And we got to find running backs that hold on to it. That's a huge play there. I mean, we're going in to score. I don't know, what was it, 7-0 then? So it was 7-7, and our defense gets a stop, and who knows what happens. But, the scheme is what most everybody in the country is running some sort of. But you've got to have good play at quarterback for sure at whatever system you're going to choose.
All right. So when you get to this situation and you've had neither one of them play well, what do you do to try to make a decision now on who starts this game Saturday? And also you got a big, tough schedule coming up if you're the Auburn Tigers.
Well, I just think I don't know who they're going to decide. Whoever you decide, you try to go with them as long as you can, and with the other guy coming in ready to play. Both of them have good and bad characteristics. They gamble a lot on the passes. You get the week prior to that, and all you see in headlines is the great wideouts that the great receivers that Auburn has. That they just really got. This is the finest core of receivers they've ever had. The Brown kid supposedly is supposed to be the best passer. So I don't know if you. That did not work out after they bragged on them. They gambled, I thought, a lot on, anybody can sit there as a fan that doesn't know anything like me, and they gambled some on their passing, I thought, and Arkansas shot the gap some and got it. So I don't know, you got to go with them. The mistake was made, as I said again, in the spring when you don't go out and pay the very best. It's a quarterback league. The quarterback has got, it's got to go. Or did Vanderbilt come close to winning that game against Missouri? I watched it too, and they got him a quarterback from Mexico, and he came in and played. So it's a quarterback league, no doubt about it.
Yeah, all right. Obviously, it's a big game. All the eyes are going to be on Tuscaloosa this week. I think you're right. We've got this humongous league. It's supposed to be better. It's supposed to be so great. Maybe because some of these teams are down, but you start looking at the slate, SC slate this weekend, it's sort of pitiful. Kentucky's at Ole Miss. Ole Miss 17-point favorite at home. Arkansas now at Texas A&M. Arkansas is 3.5-point favorite there. Oklahoma at Auburn, 2:30. Oklahoma, 2.5-point favorite. Mississippi State at Texas. Mississippi State is going to be a long year. 38.5-point underdog there. And then obviously Georgia, Alabama. Right now the line's 1.5. Georgia, South Alabama travels to LSU. South Alabama, a pretty good team. LSU struggled a little bit. They pushed out the end, but is a 20.5-point favorite. But as you go into a big game like this, I know people talk about, well, Kane Wommack's held some things back. They probably held some things back offensively. I think you got to be careful not to overcoach in a game like this where you try to do too much, try to be tricky with things. You got to be solid. You got to be solid in all three phases. You got to not turn the football over. Just when you're coaching a big game like this, how do you handle it? Do you try to stay back to your basics, or do you try to pull out a bunch of new wrinkles maybe that the other team hadn't seen?
Oh, I think they may add a thing or two, but not much. I think Milroe's an excellent quarterback. I don't know that Milroe is a great short passer. I don't know that he throws the short pass as well as some do. Some people would disagree with that, but I think he's very good. So you just try to go back to his strength and see exactly what the defensive line of Georgia does if you're Alabama. And I don't think, I don't know how to say that. I think the staff will be not just another game, but a little bit of that. I think they will take it, because I think they take things in stride. And the Shepherd guy who was on our show is very good, and the guys behind the scenes may be going crazy for all I know. But I think just from the personalities of them, and this is good, they sort of take things in stride. I don't mean they underplay the game. I'm not saying that, but they do a good job of sort of taking it a lot better than I could, of taking the game.
Maybe a business-like approach to it.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
I think. I just felt that way the whole time, that they've been there for every game. I think they've done a good job.
Yeah, I think you take on the personality of your head coach. He's very business-like. I don't think he gets too high and too low. Then you got Kane Womack and Shepherd and some guys that are pretty animated, and that's good. You have one guy that's kind of the leader. He's kind of calm. Those guys are there, and they can rally these guys up if they need to. So I think they have the right demeanor there. How about Kirby and his group? He knows the record against Alabama. It's not him versus Nick Saban, but I guess it has been. He's 1-5 against Alabama. One win was the national championship. Even if he loses the game, where last year he lost it and boom, he was out of the playoff. This year it will not mean that. But just your thoughts about Kirby maybe getting over the hump of Alabama and getting people to stop talking about that.
Well, yeah, I think that's the only black mark he has. And again, that's just me. I think Kirby and his staff do a really good job of getting. Now, I know that they went to Auburn, and that everybody's called in here and says, well, it must not have been ready to play against Auburn last year, whatever. But I think, generally speaking, on a technical standpoint, they really get their team ready to play. I think they spend a lot of time from the time that the game plan is over with for one team, for the team they're going to play on Saturday. On Fridays, if they're not recruiting, they're out work. They're looking at the film like Coach Bryant's group did of the next year or the next game without saying anything about it publicly. So my point is that they work really spend a lot of time working on on the game. I think Kirby and them do. I don't know much about the Alabama staff. Don't know anything really, but I think the Georgia staff has a game plan, as you indicated. They have not had a touchdown scored against them, and that doesn't mean that somebody. I don't think they're going to score 49 points like Phil said, but I think that Georgia will be ready to play. Do I think it's a great home field advantage? For me personally, no. The greatest home field advantage in the history of Alabama football, you weren't even born, and it's hard for you to buy this because all the students was at Birmingham. When you went to Birmingham and you played somebody, Coach Bryant, you had a home field advantage. As far as Bryant Denny and Saban Field being a big home field advantage, I think a home field advantage to some extent, but I don't think it's what Alabama people think it is.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with you on that. I don't. In the lesser games, in this game Saturday night, there'll be a real home field advantage. And I think Kirby and these guys do a great job in big games. I think they get them ready. I think they fall off on games where they're big favorites. They go to Kentucky, they lose. They win by 1. They go to Missouri last year and barely get out of there. So I think they have a tendency to lay an egg, play to the level of competition, but not in the big games like these. I think they're ready. We'll see if they're ready enough to beat Alabama, currently 1.5-point favorite here in Tuscaloosa. All right, we take the break here. We'll get to Max Howell when we get back. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Looking good in the area. We're not dealing with any severe traffic delays. We got Lurleen Wallace and McFarland Boulevard, that intersection. Only brief stoplight delays or intersection slow-goes. Otherwise, you got the road construction zones, 2059 eastbound between Western Bypass, Joe Mount.
Birmingham. Plus, don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October 13th. And check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25.
Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Thank Yellowwood for making this 7 o'clock hour possible. Go the pressure-treated pine from Great Southern Hotline. He's radio personality throughout the South. Joins the former also coach at Florida State Ole Miss. Joins us every Monday. Had a guy stop me in the store the other day and talk about he loves some Max Howell. I love some Max Howells on the radio. So you got him. Good morning, Max. How are you?
Hey, Max.
Doing great, guys. How y'all this morning?
We're good. Go ahead, Dad.
Well, we might as well get to it. Alabama and Georgia. I have a personal opinion that Georgia prepares very, very well for games. Most people throw it back at me. 1-point win against Kentucky and could have gotten beat by Auburn last year at Auburn. I still believe it. But analyze, that's what everybody wants to hear, so I might as well start off with it. Analyze the Georgia-Alabama game, and I don't think Alabama's going to get quite as, I think the staff is going to be under control at Alabama because they don't know what's going to hit them. So talk about that.
Yeah, well, I tend to agree, Coach. I think both of them will really. I'm watching Alabama the last week. Before I still got a feeling they're holding some stuff back. For whatever reason, and I think they're going because Kirby does a great job. I mean, we can talk all about anybody, about the off the field problems and all that stuff, but he's got great athletes, they got a good staff, and they work hard, and they're going to come and play. Yeah, and I think that's what everybody wants to see. I think for Alabama to stay with them, I think they got to show them a different wrinkle, and I think they will. Something maybe even where they bring Milroe out to the corner and let him run a throw. I think they're going to have to do some things like that because of Georgia's defense. So I think it's going to be a good, hard-fought ball game. And, you know, of course, old saying, whoever makes the fewest mistakes will win the football game.
Yeah, well, I think the injury at Auburn, that Georgia has in the offensive line, I believe, is not looked at much, but it's pretty big.
Anytime you lose somebody up front, and we've seen that at Alabama and other schools through the years. You know, you even one key, because what the defense is going to do, they're going to concentrate on that number 2 guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where they're going to run the linebackers through. They're going to do the slants and all the twisting they can up front to keep them confused on their blocking assignment. But I agree. I think that. But their quarterback situation over there with Beck is really good. And I think
underrated.
Probably good. Probably not try to go for a long pass, but try to pick them apart, out routes and the crossing routes and that kind of thing. I think that's where Alabama's really got to play good defense, and I think they got to get pressure on them. I think they're going to have to bring 5 or 6 most every snap on the defensive side.
I think also before Barry gets in there, that they'll double cover Williams. I think that they'll do a good job of taking away the real strength of Alabama's own passing. Go ahead. Sorry, it's enough.
That's why I think they're going to have a different twist to this ball game. They're going to have to go somewhere else, whether it be, because I think that's what Kirby does. But that's where he played. I mean, that's the position he played, was a defensive back. So he understands the technological part of how each position's got to be played to cover them. And so I think it's going to be one heck of a ball game. I hadn't even seen the line this morning. What is the line?
Georgia is currently a 1.5 point favorite.
That's dropped, because I think they were at 4, wasn't it?
I think it's been as high as 2.5, 3. I think maybe the summer it was around 4 or something like that. But
right.
It's currently at 1.5.
That's a pure pick-em ball game here.
If you're Georgia, and I know these guys got big staffs, like, you look at some of these smaller schools don't have as many staff. They can only do so much. Do you go back? You're not that familiar with Kalen DeBoer. Now, you know what's on film this year, but do you go back and have people, go back and look at this Washington when they got to Oregon or whatever, when they got to these bigger games, look at the formation, see some of the things that they did. I don't want to be caught off guard by whatever they did there, they're going to bring to Alabama. Now, maybe Alabama hadn't showed it this year, but how far back do you go, or do you even do that to kind of look at what he likes to do offensively in these big games where he adds some wrinkles? How deep back do you go in stuff like that, Max?
I think they go all the way back as far as they got time. I think they started this summer. They took all his games this summer coming to Tuscaloosa, mainly because Alabama has beaten Georgia. That's the only obstacle in their path for the last 2 national champions has been Alabama. So that, it's not something new. Just because they change coaches, they know it's Alabama. And they come into Tuscaloosa, and Kirby's been there. He understands all the intricacies that build what Alabama's been able to do. So, you better believe this off-season staff in the summertime broke them in. They'll go in and pull out now. They've had 2 weeks to get ready. They'll go in and pull out his big wins at these other places and look at the offensive side and the defensive side and see how he got them against the opponent. They'll come up. That's why I say I think it's going to be a really, really good football game. And of course, the crowd's going to be great, and the national game day will be there, and all the national attention will be on this one ball game. But I think, to answer your question, Barry, I think they go back. They try to isolate what's the closest thing that they can find that what Alabama can do based on personnel, and they compare that to what he had when he was at Washington. And because he was 25-3 or something like that at Washington. He did a good coaching job when he was there. So I think it's going to be a drop punt, an interception, of too many penalties of what. I'd be interested to see the officiating staff how they go handle pass interference calls. That's the biggest one in holding at the line of scrimmage. Those 2 calls right there can make or break this one ball game.
Yeah, the story will be written. I think there's already, I may try to get Seth Emerson on this week, but there already is does Kirby have a Nick Saban problem where Coach against Saban, he's 1-5, but he's 1-5 against Alabama that was coached by Nick Saban. Right. Now, if he goes and beats Alabama this Saturday, people say, yeah, it was just a Nick Saban problem. We're past that now. If he loses again, then they're going to say, man, it's an Alabama problem.
It's an Alabama problem.
That story will be written right Saturday night after this ball game.
I don't think it is. I think there's some people that's already writing it.
Yeah, they're already writing it, sure.
And probably some of those guys are writing both versions, just ready to see which one they're going to publish on Sunday morning. So I mean, it's going to have all the intricacies of really a great combination of college football. And I think the fans deserve that, and I think they're ready for that. And Georgia's coming in, just like Texas did last year. Hey, we're going into Tuscaloosa and win the big one. And I think that game at Texas launched them, obviously, to where they are now. But the fact is they know Alabama can be beat in Tuscaloosa. Not many times, but they can do it. And if anybody out there is left to do it, I think the fan base certainly thinks it'll be Kirby and the Bulldogs coming to town this weekend.
Yeah. No.
Explain my confusion somewhat before we get to Barry gets to Auburn or whatever. I didn't understand the way Tennessee played against Oklahoma. Now they ran. Oklahoma, they come out now and say Oklahoma would change quarterbacks. I think Oklahoma wanted to look at both quarterbacks personally, and one was great. I don't think they were mad at either one of them. But I didn't understand the way Tennessee played. Explain that to me. The listeners can take a nap. They won't.
Let's step back a little bit, Coach. The score was no indication of the ball game. No. Tennessee controlled that ball game from day one. I mean, from the kickoff. They were trying some different things based on what Oklahoma was doing. But if you notice, Oklahoma's not nearly the physical team that Tennessee was. Tennessee will line up and hit you in the mouth now, I'm going to tell you. They got, we talked about that before, they got a little thug attitude about them on that defensive front. And they'll hurt you up front. And I don't think Oklahoma was prepared for that. They don't coach that way. And I saw we'll get into some other games. I saw that happening too this past weekend. But in that one ball game, Tennessee went in determined to win. They tried some different things. I think that because of the defensive concept that the head coach and his facility and his background presented them, they gave Tennessee a little bit more as far as the secondary was concerned. But I didn't think they could stay on the field with them if they just lined up nose to nose and handed it off every time. I think Tennessee would win that ball game by 20 at least. Yeah. But I think as it unfolded, I think it's probably good for Oklahoma. And bless Auburn's heart, they got to go to Oklahoma this week.
Oh, it's actually at Auburn.
It's at Auburn.
Yeah, it's at Auburn.
Oh, that's right. It is Auburn. That's right. Well,
still bless Auburn's heart.
It is, and we'll get into that conversation a little bit if you like. But the fact is in that particular ball game, Tennessee's got as good a football team as out there right now. I think if they don't get too excited about everything and let the penalties run away with them, and that just happened with them before. I think they'll be probably a top 5 or 6 team the whole year.
Well, let's go to that next subject, Auburn and Hugh Freeze. Last week I was just blown away by how Hugh Freeze rolled everybody but himself under the bus. When they lose, he's blown, and when they win, it's I. Bo Wallace came out over the weekend. Oh my gosh, he unleashed on Hugh Freeze and basically just said, "Hey, you guys wait in 2 years, you'll see what I'm talking about." And talked about how he doesn't even take his calls now, won't do anything for him. Just was very critical of Hugh Freeze. Says, I don't even know the quarterbacks want to play for him now after he rolls them under the bus. Has he always been like this? I've noticed it, and I was all over it last week talking about it, and then it's really reared its head over the weekend. If he's going to be like that, then he's not going to be the long-term solution down in Auburn. I'm afraid that Max. Your thoughts on what's going on down there?
Okay, here's the first thing I thought. I watched a bunch of games Saturday, and I thought the Arkansas-Auburn game was the most physical game I saw. Okay. So I think the mistakes Auburn made were just almost what I call repetition mistakes. And I think that's kind of common guys, when they got the portal like it is, and they're bringing you guys in all the time. And I think the philosophy that Coach Freeze has got is that's the way he's going to keep running that program. He'll go out there and get 8 or 10 high school kids, but he's going to stay in the portal to stay competitive in the Southeastern Conference. But his personality, guys, I mean, you can check with a lot of Ole Miss fans. When he was there, the way he recruited, the way he got kids into the program, and then seemingly kind of held them kind of at arm's length. I don't think anybody can ever say he was a player's coach by any means. But the fact is I like the way they have improved defensively. Now, I'm telling you, they'll line up and hit you in a heartbeat. And I think that's the first presence you got to make when you're trying to rebuild a program. But he doesn't have a quarterback right now, and I don't know whether that's through the evaluation process is the fact is they can't get the right guy that he feels comfortable with, or the words out in the way his personality handles players. I don't know. I'm not in the game anymore at that level, but all I can do is evaluate him when I see him, and that is a fault that he's got. That it's never his fault. It's always the player's fault. And you look at it, the coach don't play. My evaluation of a coach is how he evaluates his players. How do they go about selecting the players that he puts on the field on Saturday? And then as the game unfolds, how they make adjustments. They have an injury, who they put in, how the number twos play. Those are the things that, to me, really count. But the personality of the football coach, that's the stuff that happens from Sunday till Saturday morning. The personality of the team really has to emerge out of that, regardless of who the coach is.
Yeah.
We're 5 weeks into it, and we'll blink our eyes, it'll be over. Are we talking about, of the 12 teams in the SEC in the playoff, that there's a great chance that 5 of them will be from this league?
I think at least 4. I think Ole Miss will lose to Georgia in Oxford. Lane Kiffin's got sometimes they get too full of himself in the program, and the kids don't play quite as well. They may lose one more. I hadn't isolated, but I'm pretty sure that they can do that, depending on Georgia staying, as good as they are. But you got Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Ole Miss right now. I think if Tennessee beats Alabama, I think there's the next big game in the conference in that top 4. That we'll see. We'll see who remains in the top 4. And if Tennessee continues to improve, that's going to be that game at that particular time of the year will be as big as the Georgia-Alabama game is this week.
Let's look real quick at the games this week in the SEC. First game right out of the chute, Kentucky travels to Ole Miss. Ole Miss has beat everybody up. They're a 17-point favorite this weekend against Kentucky. How do you see this game going, Max?
I think he'll line up and throw it just like he does, every week. And I think they'll cover that 17. Kentucky goes in spurts, guys. And what you're going to see is the longer the season lasts, the more competitive, the less competitive Kentucky becomes because of injuries. They're another team that they get well prepared, but they don't have enough kids, just like South Carolina. And historically, the same thing that Ole Miss has did. And of course, if you watched anything with the Florida and Mississippi State, you saw how the situation in Mississippi State is. I think if they win one more, they're going to be lucky. But the fact is Ole Miss, I think physically they've come along with the defensive front, and I think with Dart and that throwing, they got 4 or 5 wide receivers. They're going to throw the ball 30, 40 times. So I like Ole Miss to win that one at home, and I think they cover the 17.
The other game, Arkansas, fresh off a win. Texas A&M is now kind of come back. Man, if they had that Notre Dame win, they'd be sitting pretty. They're 3-1. Arkansas is 3-1. The game is in college. No, it's in Arlington. I'm sorry, it's in Arlington. Right. Texas A&M is currently a 3.5-point favorite against the Razorbacks. Your thoughts?
I tell you what, I like what Bobby Petrino's been able to do with that offense. I think they got him a quarterback now that can run and throw. I think that's his forte. And I think if you look at an assistant coach that can save a coach's job, I think he could save Pittman this year.
Already said that.
I'm not real sure that he didn't go there with the fact is thinking that Pittman might get fired and he'd get the job.
Thank you very much. That's the rumor I'm getting from Heavy. Yeah,
I believe that it's kind of true, but you got to give it to him. The offense is sharp as attack now. I tell you, he mixes up plays at the right time. He knows when and I think back to that Auburn-Arkansas game. The fact is that Auburn on the defensive side never made an adjustment to put a spy on the quarterback. If you noticed, they let the quarterback get outside. I don't know how many times. And closest guy to him would be a corner coming up. You never saw a linebacker other than chasing it more than anything else. And I thought that was a big defensive error as far as Auburn was concerned. But A&M will probably do that up to this week. But I like Arkansas going in and win that football game in a close one.
The other one, you don't know when you're looking at Oklahoma at Auburn. Has Hugh Freeze lost the locker room? Are they buying what he's selling now? It's getting close to where they may not be. But I don't think you know that unless you're on the inside. Oklahoma travels to Auburn. Now, Max, listen to this. Auburn is currently 2-2. Listen to this schedule they got. Yep. Oklahoma, then they're at Georgia, at Missouri, and at Kentucky. That's why that Arkansas game was so big. They're not going to be favored. They're not favored this weekend. They're not going to be favored against Georgia. They're not going to be favored against Missouri. They're not going to be favored against Kentucky. They're looking at possibly having, 5 losses in a row there?
I looked at them this morning on the schedule. I hate to say it, but I got them. I'm not saying it best, but realistically, they could have 4 wins this year. I thought 6 last week, but they could settle for 4. I hate to say that, but they're going to have to play, and they're going to have some guys step up. That means they're going to have to be together in the locker room as well. And I think, the coaching situation, when you start losing, everybody starts pointing fingers at how, and why. And Auburn's setting themselves up for that very thing because of the way Coach Freeze is handling the quarterback situation.
I don't believe John will fire him, though.
Fire who? No, you can't fire him this quick. They're still.
John,
No, we're not.
No, I'm not talking about firing. I'm just talking about the execution on the field. But it may have something to do with the fan base as far as how many people show up at the ball game at the end of the season. Between now and the end of the season, Auburn's always been a tough place to play because they always had great fan support. But they're also, we saw it a couple of times already, even at the end when Gus was there toward the end of his career. And then, of course, the next situation was catastrophic, in my opinion. How they even got those guys down there, I don't know. But the fact is, Hugh Freeze came there knowing with a track record what he's been able to do at Liberty. And I think everybody that on the inside wanted the guy to show up. And they've done a decent job in bringing the team back as a team. But they're going to have to win some football games, and that schedule certainly is not in their favor right now.
Mississippi State's traveling to Texas. Texas, 38.5-point favorite.
Yep.
I think one of the things Dad said, and maybe it's coming, but we talked about how great the SEC is, and boy, all these big games. There's no big games. So where are the big games? Maybe they're coming later. The Georgia, Alabama's a big game, but is Mississippi State and Texas, is that a big game now? 38.5.
Well, the only way it's a big game is for Texas to continue to roll. Yeah. They play a lot of kids. Everybody wants to see another game with Arch Manning against some SEC competition. So, I think that the quality of the program and the fan base is where the big games are. And it's all about the team that's playing that weekend, Barry. On the national scene, most people are going to look at that top 5 or 6 and see when those matchups, and that's where you're going to see game day, and that's where you're going to see the national attention show up, in particular when the polls come out the next day. So everybody's, even though we still got 7 ball games left, 8 ball games left in a lot of cases, we're going to see a lot of ink and a lot of print because the idea now is to make that top 12, and that's what the big shooting is. It used to be bowl games, then it got to be to get to the top 4, which was kind of limited. We know that. But now with 12, there's a lot of teams can make that. That has the opportunity as we see them now. We'll have an opportunity to make that, and that's why each weekend that fan base is going to be rabid in certain places.
Yeah. Got anything else for Max?
No, I guess I asked you last week, or Barry did, is Lane Kiffin going to Florida?
Well, all of a sudden that's kind of quieted down. I think some of I think that's some of the determined dates that happen if he has to play all the way through, all the way through the playoffs before I'm sure he would try to leave Ole Miss before the end of the season, and if he doesn't, then all the transfer portals closed, everything else is, and I don't know who's wanting to go there with that talent level. And I know that they've advertised as Florida having a great talent level. Guys, I hadn't seen it. They're the least physical team at that level I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
If they'd have played physically against Arkansas or Albany, they'd have got beat bad this past weekend. I watched that ball game between Florida and Mississippi State. Mississippi State's terrible. In fact, they're the last rated team in every position, in every stat, I believe, in the Southeastern Conference right now. So I don't know. I got them winning one more. They beat UMass toward the end of the season. I don't see them winning another one. Florida's not going to be far behind them, though.
All right.
The bad's bad and the good's good.
Max, before you leave, who wins? Alabama, Georgia?
That's Barry. That's the dog.
Well, you don't have to answer it. I just thought I'd ask him.
Well, the fact is the ball game's going to come down right to the wire, as Georgia and Alabama has recently. And, they're going to be in Tuscaloosa. So I'm going to take Alabama there in a very close ball game.
Thank you, Max.
All right, guys.
Call, Max.
Good job.
Thank you.
Always my pleasure, guys.
Thank you, sir. All right. We'll get to break here, and then we'll open the phone lines 205-342-9904. I want to thank Yellowwood for making this 7 o'clock hour possible. Build that 5-star backyard, the fence, the pergola. There's only one choice: pressure-treated pine from Great Southern Wood. We had one of our listeners send in on the app who he thought the guest picker should be, and I think it's a great choice. I'll tell you who that is when we get back from break. That's the Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, it's Gary Harris. Monday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show. It's Georgia week. We'll come out of the weekend ready to rock and roll. Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com and Tider Insider TV will kick off our Georgia week coverage, plus Casey Smith on golf, your phone calls, and much more. We'll recap the weekend in college football. That's the Gary Harris Show, Monday morning at 9 a.m.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We have quite the lovely commute for most of the area. I will say this, starting to crank up that volume for your rush to work delays on 69. I'm seeing heavy brake lights on the southbound lanes to McFarland Boulevard. You got a long line stretching you back to Lara EDC.
The fresher, the better.
Ask your healthcare provider about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Brian Fenley.
There was a controversial call, potentially a missed PI, pass interference, that favored and went against the Falcons. Chiefs take advantage, and they win 22-17. Sunday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes recording 2 touchdowns in that game through the air, that is. The Eagles score all of their points in the fourth quarter and hang on 15-12 against the Saints. And after the game, Philadelphia quarterback Jalen Hurts talking about how this win can lead to even more better things.
Just keep the main thing the main thing. It's a lot of all the things that I often say. Just keep pressing forward and trusting in the prep and trusting in the guys around you. You know, it's a
repair and the future repairs. No overtime charges on weekends and holidays. No hassle guarantee. Adams Heating and Cooling, 205-872-0045.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room. Phone lines are open 205-342-9904. We'll get to Doug Bell, 8:15. Look at Doug's picks. See how Doug did over the weekend. I did glance at it on Sunday, and I'll let you decide how you think he actually did. Allstate Insurance agent Andrew Kniffer. Andrew is my agent. Let him become yours. He's out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 over in Northport. You got to have insurance. You want to have somebody you can trust that will take great care of you. Andrew's done that for me and my family here for the last 5 years. Give him a call, 205-722-9201. Looking for home, life, auto, whatever you need. Andrew and his staff will take great care of you. Allstate Insurance with Andrew Kniffer. All right, Jeff from Hayneville sent in on the app who he thinks the guest picker should be. And I hope it is this guy. There'd be a great story as to how maybe this whole thing started here at Alabama when Coach Saban came, and he suggested Julio Jones. I don't believe Julio Jones is currently on a NFL roster. He thinks Julio should be the guest picker. You'd be all right if they bring Julio in? That was Coach Saban's biggest recruit to get started here when he came to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, that'd be fine. They've already gotten an Alabama person on there, and Nick Saban. Would they get somebody local? You think?
Well, usually wherever they go, they try to bring in a celebrity from that particular area or that went to that school to be. When they went to A&M, they brought Johnny Manziel in there, so they always try to find some. Anyway, that's a suggestion there, Julio Jones. All right, to the Yellowwood hotline, get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, y'all. I hope you're doing okay today.
We're good.
Okay, how you?
I'm doing good, sir. I believe y'all are right. They're definitely going to be trying to double team Hollywood Williams and reduce his touches as much as possible, and even the amount of times that Milroe looks his way. I think they're going to try to just eradicate that. But Alabama does have some other tools in the toolbox. They've got Law, who they've not gone to a ton this year. I think Kendrick's only got one catch, if I'm not mistaken. And then you've got Prentice, who didn't have a catch in the last game. Then, of course, you've got Jeremy Bernard. I still think they would like to get Caleb Odom involved in the game a little bit earlier and a little bit more aggressively. And then, of course, Justice Haynes and Jam Miller can catch out of the backfield. I think Jam's a little bit better receiver. Justin didn't do much on the two catches he had last week against Wisconsin, but they were both terrible calls and sort of behind the line of scrimmage type passes, so he didn't have much of a chance to work with it. But I think Alabama's got a little bit more in the toolbox on the receiving end than Georgia does.
Hey, I'm looking at the catches. Wow, it's pretty low. Ryan Williams with 10. Bernard has 8. Prentice 6. Cuevas, the tight end there, with 3. Caleb Odom of 5. And you're right, there's a slew of guys. Kendrick Law with 1. C.J. Dupree with 2. Justice Haynes 3. So, yeah, the ball hadn't been spread around until now. I know they've had explosive plays and scored pretty fast, and Jalen Milroe has scored, I think, a total of 14 touchdowns, either through the air or rushing there. But there are going to have to be some other receivers step up in this game for sure, Philip.
I think the biggest thing in this game is that the pass defense will be so good that the running game will be good. I think the running game will be better than it's been because I think the pass defense will be taken away from Alabama.
The pass defense will be taken away from Alabama.
I just think that. I think they'll take away the pass from Alabama, pretty much so. That you won't see a lot of good. You won't see a lot of throws against Georgia, but that based on that Alabama's running game will be better. And they have the ability to be darn good.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, Jim Miller's had 29 carries. Justice Haynes, who's from Georgia, 19 carries. Milroe at 36 carries. So you got your quarterback. They're going to spy him, though. I don't think they're going to let Milroe, if they take away the pass, they're going to let him run all over the field. Because that's been Alabama's biggest weapon is his legs. So I don't know they're going to allow – I mean, they may not can stop it. But Milroe with 36 carries there, I'm sure they're going to spy him and see what they can do with him and try to limit his big plays.
Right. Well, I'm sure they are, and Alabama has got to really be on the same page defensively. They can't have a colossal screw up that results in a three play 80-yard drive. That 65 yards of it is a Carson Beck pass. That's the big thing that, as an Alabama fan, I'm a little bit concerned about.
Yeah. Should be interesting. Who do you think wins the game? Philip, you've kind of been a little bit up and down on this team. Where are you now? Who wins this game?
Oh.
You don't have to decide now.
I thought Philip said they were going to score 49.
No, that's not what I said.
Yeah, what I said. What did you say?
No, I said Alabama may have to score upwards of 49. That doesn't mean Alabama's going to score 49.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That means Alabama may have to score. That means you could take that to mean that, but you could also take it to mean Georgia's going to be really, really smoking Saturday night.
Yeah, I don't think Georgia. You don't have a lot of confidence in Alabama's defense, and if you're saying they got to score up to 49, correct?
Right. That's exactly right.
That's right. Should be fun. Should be
fun.
Will
be, and I tell you what's interesting too right now is how the top 12 is sort of shaking out. We've got the normal teams that everybody's been talking about all year, but I enjoy watching teams sort of creep up. And they normally creep back down the next week. But Illinois had a big win. They're sort of creeping up. But I'll tell you the team that's getting back into this thing sooner rather than later, and that's Clemson.
Yeah. My daughter's married to a Clemson diehard. He was trying to tell me last night that Clemson would be the third best team in the SEC. I about choked. I told him to relax and go back and watch that Georgia game. So and they need to stay in the ACC. That's perfect for them. So they may get the playoff because there's nobody to play in that league other than Miami. That league's not very good. But you're right.
I'm a believer in Miami.
Yeah. Miami steamrolled South Florida.
They did.
If you want to compare scores, so
I'm a believer in the Hurricanes. It took me a minute, but I'm there.
Yeah. Thank you, Philip.
Thank y'all.
All right, Tom, call us back. We got to get to Doug. We'll get to Doug. We'll talk a little golf. We'll talk a lot of football with Doug. We also look at Doug's picks and see how he did over the weekend. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Your rush to work is on for this Monday. Definitely a lot more volume in the area now. McFarland on the east and westbound lanes has the usual slow and go between Watermelon and 43. And 43, that southbound hookup to McFarland, that's got a long line of brake lights taking you back to Flatwoods Road.
We give that to them each and every time they come and visit us.
The sense of pride that we have in the quality, the consistency of our food carries over to everything we do in the stores. That's Taco Casa.
Crimson Tide Today is presented on Tide 100.9, WTBC 1230 by BMW of Tuscaloosa. Online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports and it's brought to you by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere, at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. As we prepare for Alabama against Georgia, here are some thoughts from last week's edition of Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR from former Alabama linebacker Christian Miller.
The fans have to be a factor.
right? They need to be as loud as possible. They need to try to, encourage some of those penalties on their end, make them have false starts, make them have some undisciplined penalties, because that goes a long way. I don't think people realize that, but the fans are huge in this matchup to me. I mean, that could be a deciding factor. You never know. So I'm excited for it. I know everybody is. I know they haven't announced game day. More than likely game day will probably be here. I mean, it's under the lights. This is why you sign up to play at Alabama. So I can't wait for it, Roger. I feel confident going into it. I've been watching Georgia. Obviously, I've been scouting us. I like the matchup. And as long as we play our A game and we don't beat ourselves, I think we have a really good shot.
I'll have more in a moment.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations. You could say we know a thing or two about tradition. We've been family, community, and financially strong since we began in 1906. Being a team player is part of our culture. That's why at CB&S Bank, we're proud to sponsor the University of Alabama Athletics and prouder to take the field or court with you. Visit cbsbank.com today. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Join us tonight for Crimson Tide Rewind, live from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills at 6 p.m. Central. You can listen to Crimson Tide Rewind across our radio network, the Varsity Network app, as well as a video replay available on the CTSN YouTube page. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by CB&S Bank. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today with a hot afternoon, the high 93. For tonight, the sky fair with the low at 72. For tomorrow, partially sunny. We'll mention a small chance of a shower by afternoon. The high tomorrow, 91. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tuscaloosa Toyota, they help bring you this 8 o'clock hour. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. You look at the new inventory, the pre-owned inventory. You can schedule a service right there at the website. If you want to rent a Toyota, rent one for the weekend, you can do that. Or swing by Skyland Boulevard, see Justin, see David. They got a lot of great options out there, and they will take absolutely great care of you at Tuscaloosa Toyota. Or get to the Tuscaloosa Toyota hotline. He's with CBS Sports, does PGA Tour Radio. Doug Bell. Good morning, Doug. How are you, sir?
Hey, Barry. Hey, Coach. I'm doing great. I mean, what a week. Not only for the football folks, but for golf. It's the President's Cup this week, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Could be. It's any before we get to football, any news on the golf front besides Jim Furyk telling everybody to take a hike? I didn't like that. Furyk's even though his swing is different and he's way under with his right shoulder on his swing, he doesn't pull any punches.
No, great career too, by the way. Now full-time PGA Tour champion. He's the captain of the President's Cup, the USA team. It'll be at Royal Montreal, guys. I'll be flying up tomorrow. The international team has won one time. This is this will be the 15th time it's been played. They won in 1998. They tied it in 2003. So the USA team is 12-1-1. And Scotty Scheffler and Xander will be there, the 1 and 2 players in the world. And then for the international team, you got Hideki Matsuyama and Adam Scott and Jason Day and Sungjae Im and guys like that. And Scotty Scheffler, by the way, when it was in Charlotte 2 years ago, he didn't win a match. He was 0-3-1. So I thought that was interesting. But anyway, it'll be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'll be done in time to go find a TV to watch Alabama, Georgia. But also, guys, I need to tell you this. Billy Horschel, he beat Rory in a playoff to win the BMW PGA, which is the biggest event on the DP World Tour. They don't have college or pro football to worry about. So it falls on the schedule, and he won an exciting finish yesterday. Second time, he's the only American to win that event twice. And, guys, the Korn Ferry Tour has now reached the finals. Next week will be the Korn Ferry Tour finals where they hand out 30 cards, and only 70 players advanced to the finals. And Davis Shore, who played at Alabama and has had some really awful injuries the last 3 or 4 years, I mean, spinal cord injury and a torn hip labrum. And Davis was a really good player at the University of Alabama, and he has not only secured his card now for next year on the Korn Ferry Tour, which is big, but now he gets a chance to get on the PGA Tour if he can finish in the top 30 this coming week. So I thought that was big news for Davis. Sure, I know a lot of listeners probably remember him, and he's kind of fallen off the radar because of injury. But fine player who's healthy again and playing some really good golf. So I thought that was exciting news.
Yep.
Anything more to report on the meeting in New York with LIV and the PGA Tour?
Yeah, Rory held his press conference at the BMW PGA, and he's kind of an advisor. He's no longer involved specifically with the meetings like Tiger. And he said, when asked, he said, "Why is the deal not done?" And he said, "There's three reasons. Number one, the Department of Justice. They are going over a potential deal like you wouldn't believe because it involves the Saudis. And so the DOJ, and say what you want about the DOJ, but they are going over a potential deal, and they're the hang-up. They are not approving anything right now between LIV, which is PIF, the organization in Saudi Arabia that has all the money, and the PGA Tour. So that's the hang-up. And then Rory went on to say the other two things are there are players on LIV who don't want the deal to be done because they don't want the back and forth. And then thirdly, he said there's players on the PGA Tour who don't want the deal done. They like it the way it is. So that's where we are, guys. In 2025, it's going to just continue going on like it's been going on. We'll have the PGA Tour and we'll have the LIV Tour, which will play 4 times now opposite big events on the PGA Tour. That's never happened before, where they'll, for example, they'll be playing the same week as the Players' Championship. They'll be playing the same week as the tournament in Pebble Beach. So some of these signature events. And so I don't think that's a good thing for golf. I think if anybody even pays attention to LIV, now they won't at all because the PGA Tour obviously has more eyeballs. So we'll see what happens, Barry. But the bottom line is right now, because you're dealing with this influx of money from Saudi Arabia, and it doesn't look like right now they're even close to coming up with a deal that the Department of Justice would approve as far as an American entity like the PGA Tour signing a long-term business arrangement with somebody from Saudi Arabia.
Real quick, tell the listeners the format for the President's Cup.
Well, it different from the Ryder Cup, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just a 3-day event. This is a 4-day event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Same deal where you have best ball, and then you have alternate shot leading into Sunday's finals where all 12 players will play individual matches. So you have an extra day, Barry, of matches. And years ago, Nick Price, who was the coach of the international team, the captain, he wanted that. He thought it was fair, or at least gave the international team more of an opportunity with an extra day of competition. And, the matches have been closer thanks to that, but it hasn't changed the result. The USA team is still winning. So, and again, guys, here we are in the United States. I love golf. I know you guys do. I know Coach loves it. And I'll be there covering it, right, doing the play-by-play. But we're opposite all the college football. And on Sunday when the finals are taking place, we're opposite the NFL. So, again, it's the same old story, but it's reality. It is very difficult for professional golf. The ratings are down anyway, but when the professional golf goes head-to-head with college football and then the National Football League, the ratings are really, really small for golf. So, but that's just the way it is. They play the Ryder Cup and they play the President's Cup in the fall, which is opposite what is big in our country.
All right, Chase, get ready here.
Yes.
We'll go to your football picks. Dad hit his blue plate, and so he is on a winning streak there. So that's good. Let's go to your picks and see how you did. Yeah, you've been 3-6 headed into this week, and so week 4, Chase, Tennessee. He said versus Oklahoma. He said take Tennessee. minus the 7.5. A victory for Doug Bell.
Yes.
Bring it up. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. And then we said Southern Cal traveling to Michigan. And he said, you take the Trojans minus that 5.5. Well, not only did Michigan won the game. So if Michigan wins the game, then that would be a loss.
That was a loss.
Yeah. And then, Doug, you got to stay away from these. You got to stay away from Hugh Freeze. Auburn minus 3.5 against Arkansas. Dad, he said he doesn't need. He said you take Auburn minus that 3.5 points. Well, no. Arkansas 5 turnovers later. Arkansas beats Auburn outright. I don't think you'll follow that train again and pick Auburn anymore. So that runs that current record now to 4-8, 4-8 for the season. So anyway, any thoughts about the games you saw this past weekend?
Well, first off, after starting out 0-2, I was watching the Tennessee game very closely and rooting for every play for Tennessee. So that I pulled that one out of the fire. Thank goodness. Because I think about you guys, and I think about the commentary I get on Mondays, especially if I go on 0-3.
Well, somebody called me and told me that I picked Tennessee because you did.
Oh my goodness! Now you're copying off Doug's paper.
I tell you what, I pick my own games, win or lose.
Well, we had to have. Dad's been picking his games on Friday. We strong armed him and made him pick on Thursday.
He said they want credit for that. These two goobers don't know nothing.
He finally Chuck Norwood sponsors the Blue Plate Special.
I'll pick it when I want to.
So he finally listened and he got a win. But Doug, your thoughts about what you saw over the weekend? How about Missouri and Vanderbilt? Wow, that was out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I felt bad for the kicker. It always comes down to the little kicker who was a former soccer player or something, and he kicked a long one earlier, but then he just hit a horrible kick there.
Yeah,
and I was really pulling for Vanderbilt. But I will say this. Missouri a year ago caught everybody by surprise. I mean, they were the surprise team in college football, and now everybody knows about Missouri, and so things are getting tougher. And Vanderbilt had them on the ropes there, even though they didn't get a lot of yards offensively. I thought their quarterback, Vandy's quarterback, is a tough little guy, and they almost pulled it. I was really rooting for him. And I would say this: the kid, I know Jalen Milroe and some of these other quarterbacks are being mentioned as favorites for the Heisman. But the young man from Colorado, Travis Hunter, who plays virtually every play, I mean, wide receiver and defensive back and returns kicks. I mean, he's a remarkable player, and if he can stay healthy, Travis Hunter, I mean, he might be the Heisman winner. We shall see. Long way to go, but if you haven't been keeping up with that kid, I mean, he's having a tremendous year. I mean, he rarely ever leaves the field. It really is an amazing thing to see. And they won again. They won in overtime.
Wow.
So they're 2 points.
Did you see that last play in regulation that they scored on?
My goodness. Yeah. I mean, it was exciting. So give Coach Prime a little credit. And I will say this about Coach Saban too on game day. Again, very outspoken. I love game day now, and I think Coach Saban has added an element that show needed. And my goodness, I mean, he's outspoken about the Florida program.
He went after Florida.
Bryce Young.
He went after Florida as well. He didn't look good about this Bryce Young argument after yesterday.
They won.
Andy Dalton was amazing yesterday. Yeah. So throwing to the same guys, they said that Bryce Young didn't have any. They looked pretty good yesterday.
Well, and Coach has been on the Hugh Freeze bandwagon. That kind of like me. He needs to get off that bandwagon.
On Hugh Freeze's bandwagon.
No, he's talking about Coach Saban. Yeah, and he did. He went after Florida's administration. Sure did, and probably deservedly so. So,
I agree. It's been good.
All right,
you ready?
Doug, let's put that
4-8 record.
1-2. Mm-hmm. You were 1-2. So he's 4-8 for the year. Dad's 1-3. So you guys, Dad's on a hot streak.
I'm 1-2.
1-2. No, you're 1-3. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, you told you wasn't going. At first game wasn't going to be.
Yeah, but you're still 1-3. You missed 3 in a row.
I did.
Yeah. All right, you and Doug have Go ahead, where are we going this weekend?
It winners, all winners. Let me just say this. Best against the spread this year. Texas 4-0, guys. Bowling Green 3-0. BC 3-0-1. Tennessee and Ole Miss 4-0 against the spread. Now, they haven't played a lot of tough competition, but keep that in mind. And the worst, by the way, Arizona, Air Force, Wisconsin 0-3, and LSU 0-4 against the spread. So if you bet on the Tigers this year,
well, you ought to take them. Get straighten them
You're
out.
in a worse hole than I am. All right, here we go. All right, guys, let's start off. Stanford at Clemson. What's the spread there, Barry? I got 21.5.
You got. Let me look here. Stanford at Clemson. The line is 21.5. Yes.
All right. Did you see what Clemson did last week offensively?
That was last week.
I did.
523 total yards, 269 on the ground. They averaged 7.8 yards a carry. Guys, that Georgia game, I think, was just kind of an anomaly. And Stanford, by the way, they play at Syracuse, fly home, and now they got to fly back to Clemson. Are you kidding me? Take Clemson. They're going to blow out Stanford, and I feel really good about that one, guys.
God, that half.
Congratulations. Congratulations now.
All right, so take Clemson, Chase, minus the 21.5.
Yeah.
All right, next.
All right, you're going to hate this one, Barry, but Mississippi State at Texas, and it's a big number.
38.5.
Yes. Yeah. Mississippi State's quarterback, Blake Sharon, the kid, got hurt his shoulder against Florida. He's out for the year, and so I guess they're going to go with a freshman who they played at the end of the Florida game, Michael Van Buren. I mean, come on now. Mississippi State at Texas, freshman quarterback. Quinn Ewers may be back, but even if he's not, Arch Manning looks more than capable. And I think Sark is just going to keep the hammer down. First SEC game. I think Texas absolutely blows out Mississippi State, who, by the way, man, are they struggling. Oh, my goodness. Florida looked like a good team against Mississippi State last Saturday. Go with Texas to cover that huge spread. Barry, I know you hate that,
yeah,
but I'm telling you, it's going to be a rout.
All right, so you're liking the favorites this week. All right, where are you going on Game 3?
Well, we got to go where President Trump's going to be. Got to go to Tuscaloosa. That spread, by the way, guys.
God, Alabama people are cringing right now. Go ahead.
It was 4.5 up until 2 weeks ago. Now down to 2.
1.5 this morning.
1.5. And the over-unders the over-unders dropped 11 points in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
49.5.
Go with Alabama, guys, at home.
Goodbye, Alabama.
Yeah.
Roll, Tide, roll. Around the bowl, down the hole. Roll, Tide, roll. So take the Tide.
Yes, Kirby Smart, 1-5 all time. I know he's against Saban. But have you watched Georgia the last few weeks? Slow starts, guys. First half against Kentucky, first half against Clemson. This team is not getting off right now.
That's
early
really
on.
Good evaluation.
Doug.
Alabama. Yes.
They have not given up a touchdown all year.
I'm telling you, take Alabama at home.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the pick.
I'm
3-0, guys. 3-0.
He don't have anything. He's got what he wants. He ain't got. I don't know what are you doing.
3-0, Doug.
Yeah. And I haven't been 3-0 since. Now, last season, I'm not sure. Well, I think 2 years ago I hit a 3-0 with you guys.
Yeah.
We need to go back and check the videotape.
Well,
or the audio tape.
send me some pictures from Montreal, will you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not just you.
Oh, by the way, Team USA is minus 275. So you got to bet 275 to win 100. They're a big time favorite, and the international team is plus 250.
Tell me why the President Cup is the one by the U.S., but the Ryder Cup is a struggle.
Well, there's a lot of reasons, Coach. Number one, the international team. Most of these guys, they don't even know each other, and they don't speak the same language. I mean, you have guys from South Korea who don't speak English. You have Australian golfers who don't. And these guys, listen, on the PGA Tour when I'm out there, there's cliques, believe it or not. I mean, these guys have friends. They play practice rounds together. They go out to dinner together. And these international guys just don't do that. And I think chemistry is important, especially in golf, because they rarely play a team event. It's always an individual deal. So I think they have to overcome that for the international team. And then the bottom line is they're just not as good. Hideki's a great player. Sung J. M. is a great player. Adam Scott, good player, but, he's been around a long time. Jason Day, same thing. I just think when you stack up the American team, the quality of play is just better. And I think there's less pressure. I think the Americans feel a lot of pressure when they play that Ryder Cup, especially when they go to Europe. It's a road game, and golfers aren't used to that. And in this case, it's in Canada, so you have 4 Canadians on the team. So there may be some partisanship there. The Canadians are excited to have their guys at home. Mike Weir is the captain. He's the greatest name in Canadian golf, won the Masters. But I think the bottom line is the Americans you have better players, more firepower. They have more guys ranked in the top 15 in the world on the team. Canada has 1. So, big difference.
All right, Doug, before you go, I had somebody send me a message. The game day picker here in Tuscaloosa.
I would be Doug Bell.
Do you know, somebody suggested Julio. Then somebody just sent me something, told me who it was going to be. And I don't know if they know or they're guessing, but I think they're right.
Who'd they say?
Miss Terry.
You know, I read that. I read that article, and that very well could be. And I think that's going to happen.
Yes, me too.
And I think that
Miss Terry, and she and Nick will be up there, and blah blah blah.
Well, you should let the daughter do it.
No. So Miss Terry will be the guest
Terry knows
picker.
her football.
Yeah,
she knows her football. So I think she'd be. I mean, did you watch Blake Shelton last week? He didn't know anything about anybody.
No, he didn't. Blake Shelton didn't know where he knew he was in Oklahoma. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Miss Terry and Coach up there together here in Tuscaloosa.
I think that'll be great.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. So, congratulations.
Can you imagine game day, President Trump, Georgia, Alabama? Oh, by the way, if you watch or listen or watch on YouTube my podcast, The Old Gab Box, Robbie Nabolsi, who is the inside Georgia guy, and he does a show every week with Coach Don and Coach, your buddy, my buddy too. And you got to listen, guys, because he's not totally fired up about this Georgia team. And he says, listen, these are the top 2 programs, without question, recruiting-wise, with all due respect to Texas and Ohio State and the others. You got the top 2 programs, but he is worried about the Georgia offensive line, et cetera, et cetera. You need to listen to the Old Gap Box, and this guy doesn't pull any punches, and he has a nice breakdown of the game. So I'm going by what my man Robbie's telling me when I make these picks, guys.
Who'd you have on the other day, too? You had another big-time guest the other day.
Well, Mike Tirico was on last week.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you something about Mike Tirico. He is absolutely terrific.
But, Doug, that's a pull there, baby.
And I'm going to tell you something. Mike Tirico does a lot of different things, and to be able to do as many different things as he does, I saw Mike one time visit with him. Tell him I said hello. He does as good a job with doing a lot of different things than anybody I've ever heard. He's terrific.
Well, and I've known Mike for a long time, and I'll tell you, and you know, he's obviously reached a certain level in his profession where there's not many people above him, right? I mean, he's right up there.
We need to get him on our show, Doug.
I'm telling you guys, I call him. He answers the phone. There's no PR person. There's no go through this person. I mean, he just. I really appreciate that, and he always does time.
Yeah,
I will. No, he's a super guy, and he's and if you listen to that podcast, by the way, he has some really great thoughts on this PGA Tour Live thing because he covers a lot of golf. I mean, obviously he's busy right now with the National Football League, and he'll be the play-by-play guy now for the NBA on NBC, which starts up again.
He's good
this season. So he's a great guy, and I appreciate. I just appreciate his friendship. So very good person.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow, Doug's big time. All right, tell everybody about MD Wellness and Aesthetics before you go.
Absolutely, MD Wellness and Aesthetics, 205-582-9216, and you can go to mdwellnessaesthetics.com, and it's in Birmingham, 650 Inverness Corners. And now's the time a lot of men and women are going in for skin treatments, whether it's the lasers, the skin peel, the facials, the Botox, the filler, et cetera, hair care, weight loss. Susan Brignett is the owner, and she's been doing it a long time. Great person, and she sits down. It's a free consultation. Just sit down with Susan. What do you want to do? Let's figure it out. And and I recommend it to everybody. MDWellnessandAesthetics.com.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks,
Talk
Doug.
to you next week, guys.
Take a week off.
Alabama fans are not happy. Doug picked the Tide. He always gets one game a week, gets it right. Maybe that's the one he'll get. All right, let's tell him about Bryant Bank before we get to break.
Bryant Bank, if you don't want to open up a new bank account, whether you want to visit with people that know the banking business and you need to borrow some money or you need to put some money in the bank, then Bryant Bank is the place to go. Locations in Tuscaloosa, several locations in Birmingham, Columbiana. Going to have one, I think, down in Gulf Shores. Bryant Bank is outstanding. They have had the reputation of being able to take care of your money when people are after your money, and they do a great job of having you the opportunity to bank online as much as you wish. So Bryant Bank is terrific. Go in, visit with them, tell them that you heard on Inside the Locker Room, and hopefully that you'll do like the person told me the other day. They went in and they said, "How'd you find out about this bank?" And she said, "I heard it on the radio." And so that helped us a lot. Bryant Bank, go by it, visit with them, tell them you heard it on Inside the Locker Room.
All right, we'll open up the phone line. We got Tom holding 205-342-9904. It's the Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We've got our hands full. McFarland is a problem child right now on the eastbound lanes at Hunter Creek Road. You have an accident, and both on the east and westbound lanes of McFarland at Hunter Creek Road. Do watch out for that accident, blocking the left lane on both sides, and so it's got traffic crawling right now.
In Birmingham, plus don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October 13th, and check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide football.
Alabama touchdown.
Only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker. I get right up to the Yellowwood hotline. We'll get Tom into the show. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Barry. Morning, Coach. How are y'all?
We're okay, I guess. Hanging
in
there.
Good. You know, Philip brought up something that has been worrying me, too, and it's the lack of spreading the ball around amongst the receivers that we have. And it's like we're focusing on Ryan Williams a lot more than we're focusing on others, and that's a little bit concerning to me. But at the same time, I listen to Max, and Max is saying things like, well, I believe that they have not had to use some things that's in the playbook that they could use and they hadn't used. And then Coach Womack last week said, you know, we hadn't played. If we don't have to use something on our defense, we don't. If we can do the job without doing everything that we got, then we don't use it. And I think that sentiment runs true amongst people like Alabama, Georgia, and so forth and so on. Now, and I don't mean this derogatory, but I don't think that's the case with Tennessee. They come out there and they 52-card pickup if they can. You know what I mean? And but the thing about it is that Carson Beck doesn't appear to have the kind of receiving core. Of course, nobody's got a receiver like Brock Bowers, right?
No.
Nobody. I mean, when you got Brock Bowers, and he's proven it in the NFL as well. And so we don't really know. This game is such a freaking mystery between the two. You agree or disagree?
Yeah.
Well, what happens on every play that the pass play, there are a lot of people that go out and get open. And so what Milroe does is to take a quick look at about three opportunities, and I think that's what people don't understand. It's not just we're going to throw the ball to Ryan Williams today. If Ryan Williams gets open, we're going to throw it to him. But there are two other people with pass routes that try to get open. And so I don't think that Milroe is a great short passer personally, and I know I'm going to get busted because he threw the pass.
I agree with that. I think you're right.
I don't think he's a terrific short. I think he's a very, very fine quarterback. A SEC quarterback. All the things that you think. If you got one deficiency, and everybody has a little bit. He's probably not quite as good a short passer as some passers been at Alabama. Bryce, for example. So I think a lot of the game will depend on what Alabama does with their running game rather than the passing game. That's just me.
Interesting. Well, for what Jalen can't do in the short pass, he darn sure can do it in the long pass.
Yeah.
But
it ain't gonna be there.
That's a whole nother set of problems. And I think that Kirby and them are probably saying, we're not sure Jalen can get the ball out of his hands real fast.
Yeah, I don't know.
And if that's the case, look out, because, Kirby can scheme for that kind of offense right there.
Well, you're in trouble. You're in trouble because Doug picked Alabama.
Yeah, and people last year, Texas came in.
Did he say Jim Donna? Did he say Coach Donna was talking about questioning?
I thought he did. I know Jim, but I ain't real close to him, but I know him pretty well.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, I love Jim Donna. I love to hear him talk.
Yeah, he's good. I think the difference this year, when Texas came in last year, Alabama had no idea who the quarterback was going to be. They weren't set. This year, when Georgia come in, they know who their players are, and so we'll see if they can get it done. If you don't, then it's going to be, just give Georgia credit. But Alabama knows Jalen Milroe's the guy. Where when Texas came in last year, they weren't sure, and he did not play very well. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, Stevie, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll get to break here and come back and wrap up the show. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 a.m. WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, it's Gary Harris. Monday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show. It's Georgia week. We'll come out of the weekend ready to rock and roll. Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com and Tider Insider TV will kick off our Georgia week coverage, plus Casey Smith on golf, your phone calls, and much more. We'll recap the weekend in college football. That's the Gary Harris Show, Monday morning at 9 a.m.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We've got our hands full. McFarland is a problem child right now on the eastbound lanes at Hunter Creek Road. You have an accident and both on the east and westbound lanes of McFarland at Hunter Creek Road. Do watch out for that accident, blocking the left lane on both sides. And so it's got traffic crawling right now.
By combining your car, home, motorcycle, commercial auto, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
Visit us at 3537 Skyland Boulevard East or online at BMWofTuscaloosa.com. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today with a hot afternoon, the high 93. For tonight, the sky fair with the low at 72. For tomorrow, partially sunny. We'll mention a small chance of a shower by afternoon, the high tomorrow 91. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Two-time state champion and two-time NIT champion Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back. Yes.
I will let you in the morning at 8:15 ask Tim Brando, how does he think that Alabama-Georgia game is going to come out?
Brando,
I'll let you ask it.
last week he didn't have Alabama ranked. Now this week they went from unranked to number 7. He's got him number 7.
Oh, he's got him up to 7.
Yeah. So,
well, that's not going to be the kind of answer I was hoping he's going to say crush him like he told me.
Well, I mean, he got. I have to go back and look. I guess he's got Georgia 1. I don't know. They're 1. I had to look and see, but
he told me crush.
Well, he had Alabama. They went from unranked. They didn't even play. They went all the way to 7. So I don't know if he. I don't know why he did that. We'll ask him tomorrow. So if he doesn't sleep in.
Tomorrow's going to be a hot day for us, boys.
Well,
you listen to this show, it's going to be.
If he decides to wake up, he overslept.
He apologized 25 times to me.
I'm going to bust him. I'm going to get on him for it.
Yeah, he was embarrassed that he was going to do that game, and he just overslept. He pushed his alarm clock off.
I'm sorry, Alabama fans, but if Doug Bell picked Alabama,
Tim Brando's going to pick out
you got no
Georgia.
chance. You got no chance if Doug Bell picked you. All right, that's it for today's show. Appreciate you, Chase. The Gary Harris Show is next, so keep it locked in. Should be a fun week. Hopefully the weather will get out of here in time for Saturday. I'm supposed to tailgate down on the quad Saturday, so I ain't going down there if it's raining, so I'll just be money going out the window. You listen to Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.
Oh,